Welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, October 13th, 2014. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. OECS health ministers will meet here on Wednesday this week to develop a comprehensive strategy to help mitigate emerging viral diseases, particularly chikungunya and Ebola. The meeting, which will be addressed by the Director General of the OECS Commission, will engage various regional and international agencies to develop urgent and innovative strategies to combat these debilitating diseases. Another important item on the minister's agenda is the World Pediatric Project, which operates in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, providing medical assistance in the country and in the USA. The meeting will explore mechanisms to expand the project to serve the children of the OECS. Ministers and technical personnel will also discuss the annual work program of the OECS Pharmaceutical Procurement Service, which is responsible for the procurement and management of medical products for the OECS public health sector. For the past year, the OECS Pharmaceutical Procurement Service, OECS PPS, purchased approximately $22 million worth of medical products, which resulted in aggregate cost savings of $4.35 million. The OECS PPS annual report reveals that the availability of medicines in the OECS member states was satisfactory, and citizens had access to essential medicines to sustain their health care. While the opposition New Democratic Party is questioning why some Ecuadorians here are allowed to wear their military uniform, Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves contends it is not unusual for foreign military personnel to do so. According to Prime Minister Gonsalves, the Ecuadorian contingent here is an engineering brigade, and that he is happy to learn that they have already laid the basis to start actual work on the bridge at Hope and the other 3 bridges in the North Leeward area. Dr. Gonsalves noted that following the December 24, 2013 disaster, there were French and Canadian military personnel on the ground here in uniform.
There's the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and other supporting staff from the armed forces in the USA. In Sierra Leone, they're building Ebola centers physically, and they're in army uniform. I mean, what they want the soldiers to do? They're no longer army men. There's part of an accepted internationalist way of employing Army Corps of Engineers. So let us be grateful. You see this thing called gratitude? So James says it, it's a difficult word for people to say, yes, thank you. Why don't you just say thank you and let us get on with the work of building the bridges?
Meanwhile, much praises have been lauded on government ministers here for a job well done in the absence of Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves, who spent 2 weeks in Cuba treating a muscle injury which affected his mobility. At the VIP lounge at the E.T. Joshua Airport on his arrival back in state, Prime Minister Gonsalves thanked his cabinet, headed by Deputy Prime Minister Gervin Miguel, for keeping things together while he was away. Dr. Gonsalves says Minister Miguel did a fantastic job in the period September 23rd to the date of his return on Saturday, October 11th.
It's now today's the 11th, so you're talking about 18 days, it's 2 weeks plus. I've been in touch with her quite a bit, and also with other ministers on different issues. And I'm happy to see the number of initiatives they have taken and some challenging problems, including the one down with housing at Clare Valley. Very impressed by the leadership of Gerwin on that question, and Montgomery Daniel, and Julian Francis, and Beresford Phillips, and the chief engineer, because as you know, before I had left, I'd asked the chief engineer to go down as an independent authority to look at the problem. And I told him just to don't give me anything in writing as yet. Give me his findings orally.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Gonzalez says while he was in Cuba, he was able to hold discussions with that country's foreign minister and the vice president in relation to coming to a conclusion on the completion and operation of the diagnostic center here.
Because, as you know, Cuba and ourselves are supposed to work out the equipment as to what we are providing, they're providing. So we have to come to some finality and that now that the building is very much advanced. We're a little slower on it than should have been, but with God's grace, we are getting there and I will be there. That's an important facility.
Lucky is the family which has no one who has any ailment. So says Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who was responding to his critics who he said have commented negatively on the status of his health. Prime Minister Gonsalves says sickness and the variation of sickness are part of the human existence, and when someone gets sick, thanks is given to Almighty God for the insight to do the correctives.
I know my absence, and I don't spend time on social media. So people tell me, the guys around me will tell me. I know that so many persons wish me well, and so many persons were so positive and were lifting me up in prayer, and I receive texts. But of course there are some who had me with a stroke, some had me with incurable cancer, some had me coming back in a casket. And when persons want me to come back into a casket, they must remember one fact. You to think about it. It's a simple thing. The world death rate remains steady at 100%. Because everybody has.
The local media has fallen short in its role as keepers of democracy, so says lawyer and president of the Human Rights Association, Nicole Sylvester, who was a panelist on Sunday's Hit Talk program. According to Sylvester, the media contributes to the fear that many Vincentians have of speaking out against things they deem unjust. She says though the media should be the voice of the people, they have been failing to do so recently.
Media is to lead the challenge to question so that democracy can work. And in many instances, you wonder what's happening with the unions. They seem to be all in bed with one partner. You wonder what's happening with some media houses. They seem as well to all be in fear. And this certainly cannot be the type of society that we the people should continue to accept. This culture of fear has to stop.
Wendell O'Neill, a resident of Camden Park, accused for the May 19, 2013 shooting death of Dylan Lewis of Paul's Avenue, walked out of the serious offences court today a free man. His freedom came after Chief Prosecution Adolphus Delpesh discontinued preliminary investigations against him, which began last Thursday, and saw several persons took to the witness stand to give evidence. However, when two of the prosecution's main witnesses were summoned, they failed to appear, and Delpesh requested an adjournment until today, but the witnesses were still not present to testify. Chief Prosecution Delpesh told the court that the prosecution case could not go forward without the witnesses. Lewis was gunned down in the yard of his Paul's Avenue residence on the date in question. The students and teachers of the Dorchester Hill Government School are expected to be temporarily relocated soon. The Ministry of Education and school officials met with parents, past students, community leaders, and teachers last Friday at the school to update them on the move. The consultation was also attended by representatives from the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, and the Central Planning Division, the CPD. According to a media release, the option to relocate the students and faculty to the nearby Evangelical Church so that work could be done at the school to upgrade it to an emergency shelter was unanimously supported by the community. The Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Nicole Bonady-Baker, assured parents that her ministry will be working assiduously to relocate the school's population with the least disruption to the community during the construction phase, which is expected to commence in July 2015 and last for 6 to 8 months. CPD's project coordinator for the Regional Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, RDVRP, Richard McLeish, updated the community of the phases to upgrade the facility to NEMO's emergency shelter standards. McLeish noted that the school was assessed by consultants for its structural integrity earlier in the year, and the next phase, the design consultancy, is soon to commence. The Mustique Charitable Trust earlier today presented 3 new bursaries to students pursuing online studies at the University of the West Indies. The awardees are Rochelle Tannis, Renson Humphrey, and Loretta Hamilton. Head of the UWI Open Campus, Deborah Dalrymple, thanked the trust for assisting students with a laptop and the payment of 60% of their tuition fees.
The Open Campus offers the opportunity for persons who perhaps under ordinary circumstances may not be able to afford tertiary education, and sometimes affording is not only about money, it's about time, it's about family commitments and so on. When the Mustique Charitable Trust in 2010 started this program with 1 student, and we now have 15 students going through our program being funded by the Mustique Charitable Trust. We at the Open Campus are very happy.
She further encouraged the students to do their best and feel privileged that they can pursue their studies from the comfort of their homes.
You have to balance your time. You have to be able to, you make relationships with other people online. And I know sometimes the online environment is sometimes a bit intimidating, but that's where we live now. I mean, the Open Campus basically has just followed the lead of all the other universities that we do offer online education. I also want to let you know that as part of the trust is that we also offer mentoring. You'll be assigned to a mentor who would help you to, whatever issues might come up. You might want sometimes to deal with some issues that may not necessarily be academic, but would threaten to derail you if you don't you have a listening ear. So we're very happy to be able to say to you that is also going to be part of the mentorship of the program.
Meanwhile, Chair of the Mustique Charitable Trust, Basil Charles, noted that as September this year, there are 15 students on their bursary program.
The program was made available through one individual who put up a certain amount of money and said, listen, we want to do it only for people who are studying in the area. We don't want to send people to overseas to study because maybe they wouldn't come back and everything. So that's how this was done. So as we were saying, we had 15 students. We are very happy to announce that the first student to graduate, Graham Graves, and he passed with first class honors. And this is wonderful news, and it's great to know that people make good with the opportunities that they get and did very well.
The Faith Temple Church in New Montrose was on Sunday crowned the new champions of the 2014 SVG Independence Bible Festival. Some 9 churches across the country took part in the competition of speech, Bible drama, Bible boxing, and quizzes. Faith Temple Church secured 163 points to take the top position. Defending champions, the Kingdom Life Ministries of Curtains, was relegated to 4th place on 114 points. Hope for Life Restoration Ministries finished in 2nd position on 159 points, with the Glad Tidings Tabernacle in 3rd place with 135 points. The SVG Independence Bible Festival, now into its 6th year, has been organized by the SVG Gospel Fest Committee under the theme, Study to Show Thyself Approved unto God. Aimed at encouraging persons to read more, the UWI Open Campus earlier today launched its 3rd annual literary fair. The fair will be held from October 16th to 18th under the theme, Travel the World Through Reading. Head of the UWI Open Campus, Deborah Dalrymple, says the fair will open with a ceremony on Thursday, October 16th. She says at the event, performing artists will be given an opportunity to showcase their talents.
The second night would be called an Evening with the Arts, which the Vincentian Association of Writers, Artists and Producers would really take center stage. And on the Saturday, we have incorporated into the fair what we're now calling the Children's Literary Village. It's going to be an opportunity for children to read their own writings, to listen to Anansi's stories, to sing, to dance, to do some of the old-time ways or the wrongs and so on a Saturday, on that Saturday afternoon. And then in the evening, we're going to have film night, where we're going to be showing 2 films done about St. Vincent on that evening. So we're trying to take all the aspects. The literary fair comprises exhibitions, where we're going to have books exhibition starting on the Thursday, which will continue throughout the 3 days. We're going to have an exhibition of paintings and art, sculpture and arts and crafts, again continuing through the entire period. And in that literary village for the children, we're going to have an opportunity to see some of the art and craft that children would have done over the year.
Darimba noted that the literary fair is something that they want our Vincentians to embrace.
To see it as part of what we do at the open campus as we reach out to the community and continue to underline the importance of culture. Part of the open campus's mandate is to disseminate the arts, and this is one where we think that we're very proud that we've been able to do for the last 3 years, of course with the collaboration of the community, because this is done by a committee of our members from the community and from the open campus.
Meantime, President of the Vincentian Association of Artists, Writers and Producers, Rennie Batiste, says for the opening of the literary fair, they will have a special presentation by the Lomans Leeward Anglican School.
The most outstanding duet at the recently concluded National Dance Festival will do their presentation, and the highlight of that day would be the presentation of the Lifetime Achievement Award in the Creative Arts. And this year our awardee is Mr. Ken Isles. It has been close to 40 years that Ken Isles has been playing pan solo. He's a soloist. And he has made a tremendous contribution to music in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and more specifically steel pan music. And it's the first time I understand that he's receiving any national recognition. And so this Lifetime Achievement Award, 40 years, and Ken is at retirement age, so this is a lifetime of work that he is being honored for by our association.
Batiste says on the second day of the fair, they will focus on the 450th birthday of William Shakespeare.
And in any literature, anything done this year will always have a touch of the Grandmaster, William Shakespeare. And we'll be having 2 readings from As You Like It and The Merchant of Venice. Last year, 2 lawyers had promised, but they got caught by their own calendar, and so they were unable to make it. This year we will have some younger students doing the reading from The Merchant of Venice and As You Like It. Rodney Small will present a classical solo on pan, and then we have pan and poetry with Writer's Flow. And Poetry in Motion will be the dance performance by Arabesque Dance Company, the most outstanding dance company of the recently concluded dance festival, Walk to Freedom, followed by some more readings of poetry and our celebrated Mr. Providence from North Leeward.
The St. Vincent Electricity Services Limited VINLEC will host a workshop this week for personnel involved in electrical installation in SVG as part of its ongoing outreach program. The company has embarked on a program with the Electrical Inspectorate Division aimed at developing the skills and knowledge of local electricians and wiremen. The primary objective of this workshop, which takes place on Wednesday, is to address electrical engineering standards in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. There will be presentations from VINLEC, the Electrical Inspectorate Division, and the Division of Technical and Vocational Education. Among the issues to be addressed are the best practices in the industry, VINLEC standards expectations, requirements from the Electrical Inspectorate Division, training and certification in the field, among others. VINLEC anticipates that there will be approximately 60 participants at the workshop.